the SAP come up and many other things. So let's get started, guys. So if you know what SAP is, SAP stands for System Applications and Products. Okay, so this is the full form of SAP. Now let me give you a very simple or a very uh, simple example of what SAP is and what that particular exact software does. Okay, so maybe we are three people working into an organization. One is a developer, the second one is an HR, and the third person is from a finance background. Okay, so what happens, me as a developer will have a separate application for myself for developing my complete stuff. Okay, similarly an HR will have a separate application or a software for keeping all the HR work, and the finance person will also do the same, right? So today, me as an HR or you as an HR, what will happen is you want to access the data of finance, or you want to check the data of my development. So as we all use different applications or different softwares to run our own particular module or our particular technology, what happens, it is not possible for a person to learn all the applications, right? So what happened is that is what when an SAP application came up, where every particular module, every particular a technology or what you can say like a module of every particular company will be working on this particular tool called SAP, where we have different modules. Now the SAP module is divided into three parts. That's technical. Okay, then we have something called as functional, and the third one is techno functional. Okay, so what is the technical background? Technical background is everyone who works onto the development parts like coding. So we have something called ABAP, where it's a complete coding technology, SAP ABAP. Similarly, we have something called as basis, where everyone works onto the security and installation of the SAP tool and maintaining of the SAP tool for every other person who's working onto that particular project. Okay, so these are simple examples of different modules what we have into the SAP technical background. Coming back onto the functional parts, we have something called as material management, that's MM. We have something called as CRM, that's customer relationship management. We have also HR, like as I said, and we have FICO, that which deals with the finance part of the organization, etc. Okay, and similarly we have a third module which is a combination of both, that's technical and functional, which is called a techno function module, which deals with BI, that's business intelligence. We have business warehouse, we have bots, we have HANA, SAP HANA, we also have S4 HANA these days, etc. Got it? Anyone, any questions?
No, clear.
Okay, so the silence takes to be a no. Okay, so now let me go ahead and jump directly onto the main object what we are dealing with into our future classes, that's bots. Okay, now what is SAP bots? SAP bots stand for business object data services. Okay, the full form of bots is business object data services, where a particular business or a business gives you a requirement and you cleanse the data, or you transform the data according to the requirement of your business and then push it to the client. Okay, so basically there is something called as an ETL. ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. Okay, it's not only SAP bots, we have multiple ETL tools into the market like data stage, we have Informatica, we have ab initio, we have SAP bots, etc. So all the ETL tools perform the same operations depending upon the different companies what have built up the ETL tool. Okay, SAP has built up his own ETL tool, that's called SAP bots. Got it? Any questions, guys?
No.
Great. Okay, so now what is an ETL? Basically, if you're working on any ETL tool, the ETL tool does not have a provision of holding the data. Okay, so what does an ETL do? Basically, it will just transform the data according to the requirement of your business. Okay, so the very first thing, you have to get the data into the system. So that's extract. You extract the data from any system, that's a legacy system or a non-legacy system. I'll tell you what a legacy and non-legacy systems are. You extract the data into a SAP bots tool. You transform the data according to the requirement of your business. And once the data has been transformed and the business requirement is met, then you load the data again onto a legacy system or a non-legacy system. Okay. Now, what do you mean by a legacy system and a non-legacy system? Legacy system is anything which is developed by the SAP system. Like we have SAP ECC, we have SAP HANA, we have S4 HANA. All the systems which has been developed by the SAP system is called as a legacy system. And any system which is outside the the SAP systems, basically like the third-party application, third-party tools like the databases. If I'm talking about Oracle, I also have MS SQL. We also have what do you say? Maybe DB2. You have MongoDB. All these are basically non-SAP systems. So all these applications or these all the databases are not being developed by the SAP system. So these systems are called non-legacy systems, and all the systems what is being developed by the SAP is called as legacy systems. Understood? Any questions, guys?
No.
Great. Okay. So this is just a quick introduction what SAP is, what in all the modules we have in SAP, how an SAP bots tool works, and what exactly is an SAP bots tool. That's basically like an ETL tool, and I've told you what a legacy system and a non-legacy system are. So let me go ahead and quickly jump onto our bots designer tool. Okay. So once you log on onto the the server, you have something called as data services designer. So basically, data services is the name of a tool, right? Bot stands for business object data services. So the tool name is data services designer. Okay. So I'll just click onto the data services designer. This is a tool what we'll be dealing with onto our daily basis from now. And whenever you're trying to log in onto a particular onto that particular designer, it'll ask you for some credentials, right? So every system when you're trying to log in is asking for some credentials. So here it'll ask you for a host name or a system name. The name what you can see here, that's access client 4, is basically like your server name, on which particular server the SAP bots designer tool is installed. Okay. And 6400 is a port number. Every particular server has a port to install its his or own applications. So the port number on which the SAP bots designer tool is installed is 6400. Okay. So similarly, I'll go ahead and give my credentials here. That's my username, etech, and I'm going to enter my password. Welcome 123. Okay, these credentials, the username and password is similar to each and every person working into the particular organization or into a particular project. Okay, so when you're working into a multi environment, multi developer environment, what happens? You have maybe like 10-15 developers working into one particular project. So the credential would be same. Now how do you differentiate a particular workspace for each and every individual working into that particular project? That is represented by a repository. If you can see this name here, repository. Okay, now what is a repository? Repository is a workspace which is allocated to each and every individual working into that particular project who can work on his or her own development part. Okay, so let me log in into the username and password, which is common to everyone. I'll just click on login. So once I click on login, it will ask me for the repository name. Now imagine I am working, so etech is basically like my repository name here. So I will go ahead and click onto my repository. So tomorrow maybe Sebastian is trying to log in into his tool, into his particular repository. So I'll create a repository called Sebastian here, like how I have HAN, how I have repo, I have Sonali and Sonali DB. Similarly, I'll create a repository for you guys, and then you'll be able to log in as a fresh developer into that particular tool. So as of now, I'll click on to etech. That's my training repository here. So I'll click on etech and click on OK. Now this password, it'll ask me for a password. This password, the repository and the password is created by an administrator into SAP bots administrator, and that would be shared only with the particular developer. Okay, so let me go ahead and enter my password, and once I enter my password, it will ask me if I have to reset my user or click on continue. So imagine I have some task which has not been saved before, so it will ask me that, okay, I can see that there is something which has already been interrupted in your repository. Do you want to reset that and open as a new a new repository system, or you want to continue? So I don't remember anything what I've done, so I'll just click on reset. You can click on continue as well, doesn't make a much difference here. So I'll click on reset, and it'll take me into my SAP Designer Tool. Okay. So welcome to the SAP BODS Designer Tool here. So this is how your Designer Tool looks. You go to any any part of the world with any project. Okay. So you guys have any questions still here?
Yeah, I've got a question about resetting the users, because I've done some work in recent days with BODS, and I've noticed that. So even if I gracefully shut down the Designer Studio, I seem to be, the Data Services Designer, I seem to be getting this message, this warning message every time. Why?
Right.
Why is that? I don't understand it.
Yeah, as I told you, imagine I'm working on some particular object. Okay, maybe I'm trying to create a job. Don't worry what a job is. I'll tell you what job is later. Maybe you're trying to develop something, and unfortunately, you just didn't save that particular part, what you're doing, and you just closed it. Maybe you had some interruptions into your system, or maybe you had a failure onto the bots tool, and automatically the designer tool got closed. Okay, so what happens is whatever you have done is not saved, right? So imagine there is something like that, what has not been saved, or what has been maybe a system is interrupted automatically. What happens? It'll ask you. It'll pop the message will pop up telling that I have something which has been interrupted by the system. Do you want to continue from where you have stopped, or you want to reset the user and open as a new designer tool? So if you click on continue, whatever was been not saved into your system, it will open into the same way, and you can save it and you can continue with your work. Okay, what has been what you were doing before now, or else imagine you want to do a fresh job, or you want to develop something fresh, then you can just click on reset user and continue with your fresh development. Got it?
Yeah. I understand the concept. It's just that it seems that I get this every time, regardless of that I have any saved work or not. But
maybe you've not closed the designer tool properly without. Maybe you've not saved it before you closed. Maybe that's the reason you get it.
Okay.
Okay. So this is how our complete bots tool looks like. On the left side, you have something called as a project area. Okay. All the projects would be into this particular project area. Just to give you a very small example, maybe you're working with a bank. Let me give an example of a bank called ABC, just a random name. Okay, you're working with a bank called ABC, and obviously inside a bank you have many different divisions, like a debit card department, you have a credit card department, you have loans, you have liquidity, and many other applications, right? So all the 10 developers will not work onto the same debit card department, right? You'll be again split into different modules. Like someone would be working onto the development of debit card, someone would be working onto the credit card, someone on the loan department, etc. So every particular person working onto that particular module would create a project for his or her own work. So I'll just maybe like a project called for debit card. So imagine you have a existing project. You can select from the local object libraries below. If you have a department, a project called as debit card, you can just drag and drop the particular project, like how I can drag and drop it, and I can do my development work here. Okay, so this is basically like a project area where you'll be able to work onto your particular project. Okay. Similarly, at the bottom you have something called as a local object library. Very important again. Object library is basically what you develop into your bots. Okay. Now you have different objects what you'll be creating onto your daily daily basis. Okay, there is something called as project, which we have all just now discussed. We have something called as jobs, we have workflows, we have data flows, we have these transformations what we'll be working on again, and we have data stores, you have different types of file formats what you have, and functions here. Okay, these are the different objects what would be creating on a daily basis. So let me directly jump onto the next object. What we have is our jobs. Okay, now every time you create something or an ETL process, as I told you, ETL process needs to have an extraction, you need to have a transformation, and it needs to have a load. So the complete ETL process happens inside a job. Okay, you create a job. Inside a job, you make the ETL process, you run the job, and then the task is completed. You extract the data, you transform the data, and you load the data. Everything is done inside a badge, inside a job. If you just open the project area, you see different jobs what have been created here. You have something called as address clients, you have corp SQL transform, and many other jobs what has been created. So if I want to execute this, I just give a right click onto my job name and then click on execute. Okay, so what happens once I click on execute, the job will enter into the job server, and then the complete execution process will go ahead. Okay, then once it is executing, the extraction, the transformation, and the loading will happen. Got it? Any questions?
No.
Great. So let me see how many participants I have into my channel here. Okay, fine. So now let's go ahead and see the next object. What we have is called as a workflow. What is a workflow? Workflow is basically like a folder which holds all the data flows. Data flow is a subfolder basically. Just to put it into the simple terms, data flow is like a subfolder, and workflow is like a main folder. You can create multiple or n number of workflows. You can create n number of data flows inside a object. Always remember, whenever you're trying to create an object inside SAP BODS Designer, you need to follow the hierarchy. Okay. Now, what is the hierarchy of the BODS Designer tool? The very first thing is your project. The next thing comes your job. The next is your workflow. Then is your data flow, etc. Okay. You can come into the downwards. You can first create a project, then a job, then a workflow and a data flow, but you cannot go into the reverse direction. You cannot create a workflow inside a data flow. Okay. You cannot create a job inside your workflow again. Okay. This is a hierarchy order. It comes into the vertical direction from the top to bottom. Got it? So similarly, as I told, workflow you can create. This is like a folder, and this is like a data flow is like a subfolder. It's not mandatory that you need to have a workflow. You can directly jump from the what do you say, from the job to the data flow. Not mandatory to have a data workflow again. It's optional. Maybe you have multiple data flows inside your particular job. Then just to classify the job section, or if you want to put it onto a neat and tidy way, then you add a workflow. Got it? So see, if you can see this example here, if I just open this particular job, you directly have a data flow. See, a workflow is denoted by a right side blue arrow, okay, and a data flow is denoted using a cylinder, yellow cylinder with a right side yellow arrow on it. Okay, this is a data flow, and if you see on the right side, this is a workflow. So this is a workflow here. This is a data flow. This is how you segregate or differentiate between these both. This is your main folder. This is your sub folder basically. Okay, and whatever the ETL process happens, it happens inside a data flow. Okay, you cannot put it the complete ETL process inside a workflow. As I told you, you need to follow the hierarchy. So inside a data flow, you can put inside a workflow, you can put a data flow, and inside the data flow, you have your ETL process running. Okay, so just let me just connect this. This job is not completed. So this is how your ETL process looks like. You have a source, right? You're extracting the data. If you see address cleanse transform, that's your table which you're extracting. This is your source, that's your extract. This is your transform. Reverse or global code is basically like a transformation what you're doing, and then you're loading. This is your target. Source, transform, and load. Got it? This is the complete run. When you run the job, it pulls the data from your source, transforms the data here, and loads the data here. So this is completely called as what? Your ETL process. Got it? Understood, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've discussed about what a workflow is. We have discussed what a data flow is. Now let me jump directly onto the transforms. So basically, as this is just a demo class, I'm just going to help you and not pull it for a long time. And I'll let you know what are the transforms, what we'll be dealing with. Again, we will be dealing with the data integrator transform. We have different types of transforms to do different tasks on a daily basis. Okay, this is a data integrator transforms. We'll be discussing each and everything on our future classes, and we will be not dealing with the data quality because data quality is separately taken care nowadays by a new technology or a new SAP system called as information steward. Okay, the information steward tool takes care of this. And also, if you want to perform any data quality inside the bots tool, you need to buy each and every libraries from the SAP system, so which was going to cost the particular company or the particular trainer too much. Okay, so most of them don't go ahead with the data quality part, so I will not be teaching you the data quality. Again, the same thing can be performed onto the information tool, so no one into the organization also works onto the data quality transforms here. Okay, then the next transform what we have is a platform transforms. We have different platform transforms here. Basically, we have case, we have different transforms to do different tasks onto our daily basis. We'll be dealing with each and everything on our upcoming classes. And we have next thing called as a text data processing again, which will be used again into our future classes. Got it? So similarly, the next object what we have into our system is our data stores. As I told you, as I told you guys that SAP Bots Designer Tool does not hold the data, right? It just has to pull the data, it has to extract the data from somewhere, and it has to load the data into some other particular legacy or a non-legacy system, right? So how do you pull the data? So obviously you need to create a connection between your SAP systems, right? From maybe SAP ECC systems or a HANA system or any non-legacy system to your particular bots tool, right? So how do you create a connection between this particular software to this particular designer tool? So that is done using a data store. Okay, data store helps us in creating a connection or to pull the data or load the data into a legacy system or a non-legacy system. We will be dealing with creating of a data store and moving the data as well. Okay. And moving ahead, we have a different types of input or an output systems. We have flat files. If you know, Notepad also has a txt file, which is a, if you know, flat file systems. We have different types of flat files again. So we can add flat files into our system and use that as a source instead of a table. We have different types of source system or a target system. Like you can put your source or a target as a table. You can put it onto a Notepad. You can put it onto the HDFS files. HDFS stands for Hadoop files. You have nested schemas, you have COBOL books, you have Excel sheets. You can, if you have an Excel sheet where you have a data like a table which has employee ID, employee name, employee region, salary, etc. into an Excel sheet form, you can pull that as a source into your bots designer tool and transform the data and put it into any target, maybe not an Excel, maybe into a form of a table or a flat file or any other target system. Got it? Similarly, we have functions. You have different types of functions. You have inbuilt functions. You have custom functions. If you want to write a function on your own, you can go ahead and write the functions. These are the functions what I've written for my classes. Okay. Similarly, I'll be teaching you how to write a function. Or if you have inbuilt function to find out maybe a length. Imagine I have, my name is Samir. Imagine I want to find the length of the total characters what I have. SAMEER. That's 6. So if I have to find the length of the name what I have inbuilt functions for that. Similarly, you have some inbuilt functions, you have some custom functions what can be written, which will be what I'll be teaching you into your future classes. Got it? Any questions, guys? Yes or no?
Yeah, I suggest that just wait for a while, and if no one speaks, then it means no questions, because otherwise someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone had a question. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Oh, okay, because no, sorry. If no questions, but I was just able. Okay, if I switch off my headphones, I can hear you. Okay, please go ahead. Thanks.
Okay, wait. Fine. So similarly,
it's really quiet though, so you might consider speaking a bit closer to the microphone or something.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so similarly, this is the complete development tool what you have into your system. This is the complete SAP Bots Designer tool. Now, whenever you're trying to execute something, you all obviously needs to have an administration or a monitoring system, right? Imagine you're trying to run a job which is taking somewhere around 10 hours to run. Obviously, you need to monitor it from somewhere, or you want to see if the job is working properly, or if you have any errors, or if you have to schedule a job. Maybe you have a job which is created, maybe 10 jobs into a project that needs to run at night somewhere around 2 a.m. So obviously every developer cannot get up every day in the morning and schedule it at 2 a.m. right? So obviously you need to schedule that particular job. So how do you schedule it? All those processes can be handled by a system called Designer Management Console. Okay, this is the Management Console tool. So you can manage all your designer parts onto this particular tool. So let me just quickly brief up this as well. So this is your system again. 6400 is my system name. I'll enter my username and I'll enter my password and get onto this designer tool. Okay, so management tool, sorry. Okay, what happened? Incorrect host name. Oh, sorry, my credentials are not right. Let me just check. Excellent. Client 4, etech, and welcome 1, 2, 3. My password. Okay, I think I'm messing with the credentials here. I'm really not sure. I need to talk to my admin here on this. So anyway, I will take you into this particular session as well, into maybe my future classes. Okay, I think I'm messing up with my credentials. I forgot the password, maybe, or the password is reset. Okay, so I'll just check with the administrator and get back to you onto this particular tool. Got it? So I hope I'm pretty much done with the demo today. So this is what we are going to learn into our upcoming classes, and also I just forgot one thing. So we will be dealing with now with a database called Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, this is the design. The database what we'll be dealing with. Let me log in here as well. So once you try to once we start our classes, so how I have a repository of my own, I'll be creating one repository for one person, maybe someone of you, and I would request you to go ahead and create your own repository for individual purpose. That would be like a practice for you again to how to create a repository, etc. Okay, got it?
Yep.
Okay, this is going to be our complete database, what we'll be dealing with on our complete daily basis. So obviously, as I told you, I'll be dealing with the non-legacy systems. Okay, if I'm talking about a non-legacy system, I have my Oracle or MS SQL or MongoDB. So in my case, I'll be considering the MS SQL database into my classes. So my MS SQL classes, my training would be onto this particular database, and we will be creating all the tables, we'll be creating all the source, the target, everything onto this particular database. Got it?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
So
so I hope
we will use SQL Server to create the databases and the BODS to perform some things on like
correct.
ETL.
Yes, we'll be using the Microsoft SQL Server here.
Okay, clear.
Okay, so anyone have any questions? The forum is open now. You can ask me if you have any questions related to the demo class or our upcoming classes.
I think Andre, you can look on the chat because Andre is just typing.
Oh, Andrew has some questions. Let me just check.
Yeah. If you the last one, if you can create a repo for all of the
Okay.
guys, for
So
all of the
you
apps.
can, yeah, so you can create repo for me and the guys will do their own for the training. Okay, great. I'll do that. I'll create a repository. Okay. I'll create a repository for Andrew, and similarly you can
Here,
have a,
that was the only question.
sorry.
That was the only question from the chat.
Okay, yeah, I see that, and probably maybe tomorrow's class or maybe onto my next class, I'll go ahead and teach you how to create a repository, how to create a local repository, and add all the privileges to that particular repository, and also a database. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Will we have the access to also to this Microsoft SQL Server?
Yes, I will give you the access to everything. You'll have an access to SAP BODS Designer. You'll have an access to Management Console. You'll have an access to SAP, Microsoft SQL Server. Everything. Imagine you want to create any table. I'll give you all the grants to create, delete, update, etc. All the grants would be given to you. I'll give you the complete Designer tool without any restrictions onto the Designer tool. I'll give you all the extra, permissions for the management console as well. If you want to schedule it, you want to check your job, everything will be given to you.
Okay, nice. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I believe there's no more questions from you guys. So I'll consider it to be a no. So I would request to give me a feedback on the class today.